Hey, podcast family. Today I am extremely excited because our guest for our podcast has amazing information to give you because he's a Grammy nominated producer, arranger, songwriter, recording artist. He's phenomenal. But before I tell you who our guest is, I want to remind you to stay to the end of our video because you know I always have nice things to give you when you stay to the end of the video. All right? So, today's guest has written beautiful songs. Heaven only knows. He's written songs for so many different artists. I particularly enjoy the work that he did with Wintley Phipps. He's done work with Boney James, with Kirk Whalum, with Celine Dion. He's just worked with so many different people. I just won't even try to name all of them. But I'm particularly grateful because he was in my wedding and I was in his wedding. That means we got to know each other in the early days before he became famous. So today on our podcast Change, I want to introduce you to John Stoddart, who I feel will give us valuable insight into how we can live our best life and how we can change for the better. Ladies and gentlemen, please warmly welcome John Stoddart.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. How has the battle been?
Man, it's always funny being introduced by your friends because I'm just sitting here going, all the things he could say, please, Lord, don't let him say anything too embarrassing.
Oh, man, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm grateful. Hey, I'm grateful you went to Wikipedia and not to your memory archives, you know, from
No, man. I have some wonderful memories, but
yes.
But today I want to introduce you to my audience who has not had the blessing of knowing you yet. I am, just so you know a little bit about my audience, I have about 640,000 followers on TikTok, and 65% of them are female. And we have it split between the United States, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Jamaica, and I am happy to have the opportunity to pray with them every day, morning and evening. And I've asked them, what are some of the things that you want to learn about? If I were to interview someone, what would you like to know about? And so some of them have expressed interest in learning how to deal with depression or anxiety. That's something common today I see. Some of them want advice about relationships and others about success. And I figure someone like yourself who's been blessed to have a healthy relationship in his love life and to have success in his career, and to, from my perspective, be in great health, physically and mentally, that you might be able to share some insight from your journey. So please introduce us. Who is John?
Oh, boy. Well, first of all, I want to say to your audience that you and I have spoken a little bit about them, and I just want them to know, or you who are listening and watching, that that Dave is so proud and really honored that you all are part of his community and part of this community. So the feeling from my perspective is mutual in terms of the people who are following and listening. You know, you have as much love and care and fondness for them as they do for you. So I just want to start out by saying that. So I'm really thrilled to be here today and to be able to share a little bit about my experience, and I pray it'll be a blessing to the people who are watching. Who is John Stoddart? That probably for most people is a complex question. There's no single answer. I think maybe depending on the day of the week or the period in your life, your mind might be drawn to a particular facet more than others. So there may be days when, you ask me that question, and because of what I'm doing that day, I immediately say, I'm an arranger, or my youngest daughter is about to start college in a week. So if you had asked me last night when my wife and I were at Marshall's shopping for, bedding and stuff for the dorm, I'd have said, "Oh, I'm a dad,"
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I think these different facets of ourselves inform each other. They're not necessarily separate parts, but so it depends on the day of the week, and these different aspects of who we are and who I am informs the other things. So, my dadness impacts who I am as a musician. And then there are elements of my, me as a musician that impact my entrepreneur side. So we all have these different parts of ourselves that are, coming into preeminence or kind of to the surface or to the forefront at different times, depending on what we're doing. And I think it's a good thing, as an artist, probably is one of the things that I feel like most defines who I am. There's no way for the rest of your life not to be a big part of what informs and allows you to do art. So one of the things that I've been trying to do more of recently as I get older is to not get so busy being an artist. Is ironic, being an artist or being a musician, that I don't have time to live the other parts of my life, because ironically, those are the parts of my life that inform the art. And, and I find that the art part of me, the musician, the creative, can get a little stagnant and a little emotionally constipated if I don't, if I don't allow those other parts of my life to have the time that they need and the attention that they need.
So I'm going to guess you had from the time I met you, you had a very clear vision of what you wanted to do with your life. For those who are wanting to know, you mentioned work-life balance, but for those who haven't gotten to where you are yet, what would you recommend for them so that they can have clarity and succeed?
Well, I tell you first, let me say, I don't know that I have the best work-life balance. That's something that, especially at this time of my life, the spirit has drawn my attention to as something that I need to do better at. So that's disclosure there. So I guess that's to say, for those of you who feel like you don't have it, it's a constant thing that I'm working on and that you work on. And one of the things that helps me is community and relationship with people who you do feel like have that. Again, as an artist, I think for me, I'm a pretty introspective, melancholy personality type.
Okay.
And probably most prefer being by myself, and I think that there are times when I need that. There are times when that's important for what I do. But there are other times where, I have to really be consciously focused and try to have a posture of humility that says, man, I can't do this all by myself. And that's live life. I need the people in my life. I need to reach out to the people who I have relationship with, just because. So for example, I have a concert in Chicago. I think it's next week, and I have a good buddy there. So my flight was originally scheduled to land in the evening, but I was able to catch an earlier flight, and I'm going to hang out for a couple of hours with a buddy of mine, a good buddy of mine who's there, and just have some time together. He's a person who knows me pretty well. He's got great perspective. We enjoy one another's company. So, there's no real agenda. It's not a counseling session. It's just that I'm understanding better that I need time with people like that in my life, both from a receiving and from a giving standpoint. There are young musicians I just touch base with from time to time. Hey, man, how are you doing? How's your wife? How are things going with the kids or whatever, just to try to stay connected. And it's something that I have to be really, really intentional about. And that really helps me to at least keep the fact that, okay, you got to stay balanced, or to be focused and intentional about keeping that balance. My wife is really great at that, having a spouse who is able to gently say, hey, I know you have a gig that weekend and I know you feel the pressure of working. And, as a musician, or any entrepreneur, if you're not working, there's that little thing on your shoulder saying, there's no money coming in because you're not working.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, man.
And so you feel that pressure to just take every gig, take every job, and just be working. And so you have to, use wisdom and discretion. And there are times where you do have to work, or you have to say, I can't do that because of this. But there are also times where you have to say, this is more important. I'm going to have to cancel that work thing to do this, or I'm going to have to prioritize, this family thing or this personal thing or whatever it is. And it's hard. It's hard. It's tough to do. I hope I'm not oversimplifying or making it sound easy, because it's a challenge. But I think it's worth it, and I think that when all we do is work, even when you love your work, like I love what I do, but even when you don't, you get out of balance, and then the work suffers. The work that you even love, it ends up suffering if we don't make sure that we're valuing these other parts of our lives.
So I would think that, I have a few students at Washington Adventist University, where we went to school.
Our alma mater.
Yes. And, from where they are right now, they want to achieve, dreams like what you have achieved in your life. And so I think what would be great from your perspective, like, is it different now that you've, quote, made it, now that you're on, national or international stages? Is the goal what you thought it would be? Or, because what I hear you saying is, like, you're doing things that are allowing you to experience great success professionally, but you realize, like, it's really about the relationships along the way and having enjoyment and fullness in them. That's really what life is about. Like, that's kind of what I'm hearing you say. Like, is there something to the younger you would say, or to these students of mine that you would say about true success or happiness?
Yeah. Whew. I didn't know we were having this. I didn't know I need to put my scuba gear on today for this, this deep. Yeah, I thought we were going to be talking about Logic, Pro Tools. I would have eaten my Wheaties and stuff, man. You're asking all the heavy life questions.
Just
it's true. A couple of things that come to mind. One is what you said is absolutely true. I think it's important to have dreams and aspirations, and to pursue them with vigor. I think probably looking back now, one of the things that I'm grateful for and wish maybe I had done more of is to understand that as well formed and as well crafted as your plan is, that it will not go the way you planned. And the reason I think I would emphasize that to my younger self is, one, I would probably have prepared differently for contingencies. In other words, I would have. I'm grateful that God has given me interests and perhaps gifts that allow me to do different things. I think that's been something that I'm most grateful for, because in my industry, the music industry, it's just there. It's cyclical, and there are things. One day you're doing, for 3 months you're doing all this one thing, singing, and then the next month nobody calls you doing singing because you're playing the piano. And then another 3 months, no one calls you to perform, but if you know how to arrange, you may get production work. So I'm grateful that I have that in my back pocket. But for example, and I hope my mother doesn't see this interview because I don't know if I've confessed this to her yet. Uh, but she really encouraged me to go to graduate school right after I finished college. And I just didn't see the need for it. And, I got to a point in my career, I was like, man, yeah, I can see that there would have been value to that at that point. And so that's an example of one thing that I had the opportunity to do. And even though I didn't see the value for it in the moment, I think, there was someone wise in my life saying, hey, you never know, you might need this. And so that's one thing I would say is, you want to have focus and you want to have drive, but I think it's great to have some, lots of tools in your toolbox. And when you're young is one of the best times to get those tools. So that's one thing I would say. And then the other thing I would say is you really have to, and this is almost the opposite of what I just said, but you have to be open to the fact that God is going to lead you and God can see what you can't see. So God is going to lead you. You can have your dreams and you can have your goals, but there's great value in surrendering those to God because you never know. I mean, we always look at the advantages and the good parts of the things that we desire. So when we go to the Mercedes dealership, we say, oh, I can't wait to get this Mercedes because, it's the German engineering and the car, and then people will see me, driving it, and I'll just look good. And oh man, listen to the sound system and the leather seats and all the wonderful things about having Mercedes-Benz. And we get it and we have it for about, 3 or 4 years, and you get to 100,000 miles and you got to change the timing belt, or you take it to get an oil change and it's $150 instead of the $40 that it would have been, if you had a Camry. And, when you go to take it to the dealer to get, the service, and they're like, oh yes, your 15,000 mile service is going to be $1,500. And, that's not what you think about when you get the Mercedes, and I think the same is true of the things that we desire in our lives. We invariably think about all the awesome things about having $10 million. Oh, that'd be awesome. But we don't know or think about the burdens or the difficulties or the challenges or the responsibilities that come with it. And so when we trust God to say, hey, God, this is my dream. I want to do this. This is what you place in my life. And God says, okay, but let's do this first, or let's go this way, or like, no, we won't do it quite that way. Let's do it over this, do it like this. It can be disappointing, but I've gotten to the point now to where I go like, man, maybe God was saving me by not allowing me to have some of the things that I said I wanted, because I hadn't really counted the cost, or I could never know what the real cost of what I was asking for was. And again, even that's, I think, an ongoing faith, part of your faith journey, to be able to live without regret if it doesn't turn out or it doesn't play out exactly like we dreamed. And it's okay. That's part of being the human experience and the human journey. So to just maybe maybe relax a little bit and say, it's going to be okay. Drive, work hard, plan, dream, all of that. But also, be able to let it go and say, okay, this probably isn't going to look exactly the way I planned, but that's okay too.
Wow. Okay, John.
Man, you didn't warn me. You didn't warn me, Dave. You didn't prep me, man. I would have had my PowerPoint ready, my object lessons. I'm winging it, man.
Man, it's profound, brother. Now, what people don't know is I remember you used to pretend preach, reaching back in the day. You used to pretend preach. You put on the preacher voice and you sound, somewhere between C.D. Brooks and T.D. Jakes, you know? And I thought to myself, is John gonna be a preacher? I mean, he got the wisdom, he got the voice, he got the skill set. I'm just saying. So I'm not surprised at the wisdom that's coming from you. We appreciate it.
My faux pontificating and exegeting, and no, you're the real theologian of the two of us for sure, man. I will defer. I will defer every day. So, but yeah, it's funny, man. The point of life I'm midlife, and it is a time where you do a lot of thinking and reflecting and looking back, and man, what would I have done differently, or where I thought I would have been this, or I thought I would have done that. Sometimes you undervalue what you have been blessed with, or were able to accomplish, or have been able to accomplish, and perhaps overvalue. Maybe, oh man, I used to value this, but when you get to a certain point, like, oh man, maybe that wasn't as important as I thought. So this time of life for me, just personally, has been a time that I'm really going through a lot of, and thinking about a lot of the things that we're coincidentally talking about today. That's just the page I'm on these days, really zooming out and trying to get a sense of perspective, and really being intentional. One of the things I've been really intentional about recently is, and I mentioned it before, is connecting with younger musicians, both professionally. I do a lot of collaboration, but also personally. Man, how you doing? How's your, wife? What happened with so and so? Is everything, and not necessarily that there's a problem, but just one of the things that I didn't realize that the human experience has so much commonality, and it's important that I think we share with each other, because it helps us not feel alone. And a lot of the things that we go through, you feel like you're the only person going through it. We have social media where from my perspective, one of the primary goals is to craft an image. And so if you spend a lot of time on social media, you see the best picture. The person has taken 100 pictures and they've picked the best one, and then they've edited it, and then so we see that. We see take 75 of the video for the most part, oftentimes. And so we have, and if you are consuming a lot of what's going on around you without real relationship connection, a lot of times it can seem like you're the only one who can't get the picture right on the first time, or can't get the take right, or can't get the passage that you've been practicing. And that's not always the case. So I think that the antidote, or the balancing factor to that, because I love all the social media and stuff. I think it's great. It is a great way to connect. But I don't think it's a substitute for, people who get to see the downside, who get to see you without the makeup, who get to see you before you've learned the song, who know, what you went through trying to learn it, trying to practice, who knew you before you got the degree. People like, you and I are in our lives. People who were at David was in my wedding. He was one of my groomsmen. So people who knew me, and who knew me, when I had the 81 Honda Accord that backfired when I would shift from third to fourth gear. You know what I mean? So we need those people in our lives that we can be vulnerable with, who can see that side of us. And I think there's great value to that. And we have to be intentional about letting those people into our personal space as well.
Well, John, I mean, I feel like this is a TED Talk. Like we need to put the TED logo on it, right? Because
my goodness.
Seriously, I'm blessed by hearing your processing of life and what you've learned on your journey. It's it's really important. And I think hearing it from you for people like my students or others, they admire the beautiful music that you make or listening to you sing or your arrangements. And then to hear you say what's really most important and valuable in life, it hits differently. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I thank you for your vulnerability. I thank you for your willingness to share. I know your time is very valuable. So I want you to tell us, what are you up to? How can people enjoy what God is creating within in you?
So I do have a Facebook page. That's probably one of the best places. John Stoddart Music. Instagram, John.Stoddart is my Instagram handle. Those are probably the two best places. Twitter at John Stoddart as well. And then I always encourage people to just whatever music platform you enjoy, whether it's Apple Music or Amazon or whatever music platform you enjoy, YouTube, type my name in. And YouTube is actually one of a really good one because I have things that I do as an artist and as a singer, but I also work a lot as an arranger and a musician with artists like Kirk Whalum. For the past year or so, I've been touring with a really wonderful conductor, Jason Max Ferdinand, the Jason Max Ferdinand Singers. And then television ministry, Breath of Life, that I'm connected with and have been fortunate to do some work with. And so that's a good way to get a sprinkling of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But yeah, just let's reach out. Let's stay connected on social media. I haven't ventured into TikTok yet. My friend David here has been encouraging me that that's a platform I need to broach and to enter. So that's something that probably within the next 6 months, I'm working on a new project, actually finished the project, and we're working on marketing and so on. It's I don't even have a name for it yet, but we recorded it live in the studio in Nashville called Blackbird, and some great musicians. We actually captured 7-camera video as well, so it'll be sort of like a live concert video, but in the studio. Yeah, so really personal songwriting. We're talking about things like, for example, my wife and I, on our first time getting pregnant, we lost the baby, and so there's a song about that experience. And again, it's important that we share this stuff because when you go through it, that's not something that people generally talk about. So you're like, man, I must be the only one who this happened to. So my wife and I especially are always very intentional about sharing our experience being married. We'll be 24 years in about a week. So that's one thing. Talk about addiction. I have a song about addiction called Slave. It's on that record. I have a song about fatherhood called Never Gonna Let You Go, my 2 daughters. So just different things. There's a song that was written by a good friend of ours, David Halloran Hill, called Block My View. And it's a song about, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's become one of my favorite songs on the record, that talks about how we can sometimes look at ourselves and go like, man, I'm not that great. We can feel really down about ourselves. We notice all the flaws, and this song talks about God standing in front of our views. It's God, block my view of myself and allow me to see you. It's called Block My View. So just some, I think, things that in a unique way will be good for people to it'll be a way. Sometimes a lot of what I do is try to express what I believe people are feeling. You may sense something or feel something, but when you hear it expressed back in art, whether it's music or painting or poetry or whatever, it's cathartic, I think. And so I think this record will be that for a lot of people. So That was the long answer to how can people get in touch with you. Sorry.
That was the perfect answer, man. I'm excited about this project. The project
Yeah.
with the I don't know, the project with no name, the
Right,
bike
the
ride
project with no
project.
name.
That's hot, man. It's hot.
The
I'm
project
excited.
with no name. Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah, I'm
for. I don't know. I
excited.
don't know what we're gonna call it, but yeah, it's. I'm really looking forward to it again. Um, yeah, the song about that was inspired from our miscarriage was is called "Rainbow in Your Tears." You know, like you can't have a rain without the rainbow. I mean, you can't have a rainbow without rain. Um, there's another song called that I wrote with my oldest daughter. She's a singer songwriter as well, goes by the name of Symphony. Check her out. Really gifted singer songwriter. But we wrote this song called "Rescue Me," that's about gun violence. You know, so yeah, so that one actually is out. So if you wanted to check out something that I've done recently, that's a song you can check out now. It's called "Rescue Me." Um, Available on all platforms. Check out.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, John, in closing,
Mm-hmm.
if you're look into the camera and tell
Mm-hmm.
a person today who wants a different life, they want to change from your journey, how God has blessed you to reach so many of your dreams, what is the most important thing that they need to do to change their life?
Start.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a planner. You know, I enjoy you know, spreadsheets and setting things up. Yeah, that's kind of how my brain is wired. But one of the ways in which my wife and I balance each other is she's a starter.
Mm.
You know, she'll jump in, she'll start. Well, doesn't always work. You know, it doesn't. You know, sometimes she probably goes, I should have done that first, and you know. So there's a balance to it. You know, I'm not saying don't plan or don't think or don't, but whatever you do, make sure you start. Make sure you start.
Wow. Man, you don't know how powerful that is for me personally. I this podcast, I was ready to do this a year ago, but I was suffering from so much anxiety. I did not have the courage to even reach out to people to get them interviews.
Wow.
And what's happened in my current experience, let me say this in the most. Let me figure out the best way to say this. I was driving, and I was so unhappy with life. And my unhappiness with my current situation led me to say, I'm going to work harder than I've ever worked on anything in my life this summer on bringing my dreams to reality in terms of being a content creator, in terms of being an entrepreneur. And I got sick around my birthday, so I had to slow down for the last couple weeks, but I've kept that promise to myself. And it's been life-changing because I don't have time to second guess myself. There's a person named Mel Robbins, I think is her name, who wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule, where when you have an idea to do something, before you talk yourself out of it, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and take an action towards your goal. So literally, what you're saying, start. That's her mechanism to do that. And I have been using that idea, something similar to it, and I've been taking action, and it's been transforming my life, my brother. I mean, when you said that, I was like, okay. Like, Punch Fit. Sean Cannell is a YouTube expert and part of his Video Ranking Academy. And he says, punch fear in the face and start. When it comes to being a YouTuber, just punch fear in the face and start. So thank you, John. Like, that really resonated with me. the
Wow.
start.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's again, just to echo what we're talking about, community, um, sometimes having someone ask the question that you just asked me, it's important because sometimes it's easier to say it to someone else than it is for you to take it yourself, and part of what community does, we have this relationship that we've had for, many, many years. And when you challenged me to think about that in a way that allowed me to voice something that I thought and believe, but I even need to do a better job of of
Mm.
of incorporating into my kind of own experience. And as part of the same thing that we've been talking about all morning, that would be the other thing I would say to tag onto that is just remember community. Remember
Mm.
community. That is really, we've been so disconnected by the pandemic recently, and everyone's busy doing this and this and that. We have to prioritize community and relationship. It's just, we can't survive without it. We can't survive without it. So thank you for reflecting that back to me, what I just said to you. It resonated with me as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you, my brother. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable John Stoddart. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And
thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us.
And we look forward to being able to get your music, and we look forward to being able to find the unnamed project.
Right.
We'll search for it, man, until we get it.
There we go. Maybe I'll come back on, get a chance to come back on when it's released, and we'll be able to talk a little bit about it. That might be fun.
Okay.
I don't know if you have songwriters in your community, but it might be fun to talk about the process and the music. That'd be fun.
Let's do it, man. Let's make it happen.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all so much. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thanks for staying to the end. I promised a special gift. I want to give you a free copy of my new book, TikTok Secrets. In this book, I share the secrets that have helped me grow my TikTok channel, David Griffiths 07, to almost 640,000 followers. These principles will help you win on social media. So don't forget to click the link in the description or in my bio for TikTok Secrets. All right. Thank you so much for listening and watching our podcast. I hope you got a lot of value, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Much love. Take care.